Welcome back. I've got Justin Lewis on the line. Justin, how are you?
I'm doing excellent. Thanks, Mike, for having me on the show.
Oh, my pleasure. Great to finally connect to get you on the show. So, today we're going to talk about moving the needle. And I know we talked a little bit in the pre show about during this time, which at the time of this recording, we're in the middle of a pandemic, is actually a great time for people to improve themselves, to put forth the effort for them to improve their lives. So let's jump in. So a little bit about you, the work that you're doing, and then we can dive into some ideas that people can use to make their lives better.
Excellent. Well, I am the host of the Hard Thing podcast. I started it about a year ago. And the general idea of the podcast is in order to make strides in your life towards the goals you're trying to accomplish, the things you're trying to achieve, often, almost every single time, you're going to have to go through, around, over, under, whatever adjective or preposition you want to use, uh, through a hard thing. And so the whole goal of the podcast is helping people make those steps, take those journeys through those hard things, moving the needle to accomplish their goals. That's it in a nutshell. And basically, what we do is we interview high performance people like Mike, actually, who have done hard things, been in the trenches, and lived to tell the tale. And so we try and extract stories and principles and strategies from them on how to actually do that.
And this is, I don't think I asked this when I was on the show, but do you see common elements amongst all the people you've interviewed that have done the hard things? Is there a secret sauce to them, or something that you commonly see? Because obviously I know, in listening to your show, I mean, you have a diverse group of people that have done
Yeah.
hard things in their life. But I'm curious, is there something in particular that they do that helps them, do those hard things in life?
That's a great question. And actually, that's honestly the whole point of the show, finding that commonality and figuring out how to replicate it within ourselves. Interestingly enough, I found that one of the commonalities I've seen is that all of the people I've talked to aren't, they weren't born under a lucky star. They weren't, a knight in shining armor from their youth. They're just like me and you. They're normal people. And it's funny, a lot of them detail weaknesses that they've had. So I've talked to multiple people. I had Jonathan Robinson on the show a couple weeks ago, and he had the chance to interview the Dalai Lama, Mother Teresa, these really impressive people. And yet at the beginning of the show, he told me that he was shy as a kid. He was nervous about talking to people. He wasn't comfortable. And I think more than anything is these people, the commonality, they've been able to disregard their fears about the certain hard things or the negative thoughts or whatever it is, and they've been able to move through it. And I think that commonality is, first of all, they believe that it's possible. They don't really think like, oh, there's nothing I can do. And second of all, they try. Like a lot of them, they don't in telling their stories, they don't say I had to put up all this courage. And obviously they do, but more than anything, they say, yeah, I did it. And then good things or bad things happen, but then I keep doing things, and it's weird that their life just changed. So I'd say those are some of the two commonalities I've noticed.
Thinking about that, and again, listening to your show and the guests that you had, there's always that initial, am I ready to do this? And they say, you know what, I got to do it. I got to take that step. And
Yeah.
then they take the other step and they misstep and fall down and dust, but they don't go back. They're like, no, I don't want to go back there. I've already started to move the needle. So let's keep moving it. Let's do it. It's not a straight line. We've all seen that image of, success, is like a squiggly line all the way up
Yeah.
to the level you want to get to. And that's exactly how it looks. It's messy. You misstep, you make decisions that, well, that didn't work out like I hoped, but you can't let that hold you back. There's going to be those experiences, and that's where growth comes in, the experience. And I think back to my own journey, since my year of worst case scenarios, and even the last 5 years. I was looking at my bio earlier because I had to send it off for a speaking engagement, and I was looking at it, and I've obviously revised it several times, but I'm looking at it and I'm looking, pretty much everything that has happened in that bio has taken place in the last 5 years. And like, I've been around longer than 5 years, but I'm looking at it going, holy crap. And like, whoa. But I know the steps. I can trace them back, and I can say, yeah, in order to be able to accomplish that, I had to mess with this. Or for the podcast, the biggest problem I had with iTunes was getting my damn artwork to show up. And it's like, finally, it's like, just resize it to the size that Apple wants. Hey, there's my logo. That took forever, and it was it's just, I remember those frustrations early on, and even to current day. There's always challenges that you face, but if it were easy, everybody would do it. That's the hard thing. Stealing your thunder here. It's pushing through. But when you push through, just like when you're exercising, to build up muscle, you got to strain things in order for it to expand. And if you just like do this, like, okay, I'm lifting 12-ounce curls or something, well, something's going to grow, but it ain't going to be muscle. And I know that personally. So you get that challenge, but end of the day, it's like, it's worth it though.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that people that have a difficult time pushing forward, get connected with those goals. And why is it important to you? Because, I always ask people, okay, what are your goals? And they'll say, well, I want to do this and this. Well, why?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they don't really know the answer to that, which I thought, well, wait a minute, then why? Then you're not going to put in the effort, because if it's something that you really, truly want, you'll put in the effort to do it.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned that, because I think that's another commonality that they have, is these high-performing individuals are able to draw meaning from certain activities in their lives, and other people haven't necessarily learned that skill. I think Viktor Frankl says something to the effect of true suffering is only suffering if there's no meaning. If there's meaning, then it kind of transcends that. And I think that these high-performing individuals, they're able to kind of see the bigger picture, but like you said, they can instill their why. They can pull meaning out of mundane tasks and give themselves a bigger reason why they're doing it. And I think that's a skill that all of us really should work on, because then we'll be able to fold laundry and it'll mean something to us because we're doing something for ourselves or our families, if that makes sense.
I folded laundry the other day, so I know that thing. It's like a place for my stuff, or like, behind me, there's that poster back there. It's kind of blocked by the bookshelf, but it says I have CDO, which is OCD, but the letters are in alphabetical order as they should be. So I'm one that's like close, put away, fold, all that kind of stuff, and it's because for me, when I talk to people about successful starts to their day and boundaries and all the other fun stuff I talk about, but I tell them, it's like, when you aren't running around like a crazed maniac in the morning to get ready because you've done things and have things where they're supposed to be. George Carlin, A Place for My Stuff. It's just, that's still my favorite skit of his too. But when you have things in order that makes sense to you, it's such a big difference, because it reduces the stress and it allows you to focus your time and energy and thoughts on the challenging things in life. You're finding your keys every morning should not be the challenge that you sign up for in your life, or having your clothes figured out what you want to wear for the day. You have a general idea on that, so you're not thinking about that stuff. So you can focus your energy and thoughts and motivation on the things that are going to help you move the needle forward. But I see so many people struggling with even the most mundane tasks because it's like they don't have any organization at all. And organization to everybody is different, but it's like, figure out a way where you don't have to think about this, where it's just easier.
Exactly. And they've actually done studies, I can't remember exactly which ones, but these studies have proven that discipline is like a muscle. It exhausts itself throughout the day and it needs to recharge. And obviously you can work on it and grow it. But like you said, we shouldn't be spending our discipline to look for our keys. We should be spending a little discipline to put the keys back where they need to be, and then use our discipline on more meaningful tasks where we think we're going to move the needle, where we can actually add in our focus and make things happen. So
Yeah, it makes it so much easier too. I mean, even to the point of, having a kettle if you're going to warm up for tea or something in the morning, have the water ready to go. So when you wake up with one eye open, you can just go click and turn the kettle on. And you don't have to worry about pouring the water or anything like that. And then you can wake up and hopefully wake up before you start pouring scalding hot water all over. Yeah, just
on a good day only, right?
yeah, exactly. A bad day that'll wake you up. I tell you, that will wake you up really quick. You won't be sleepy after that. I know that from personal experience. So,
Yeah.
so for somebody that is like, they get to hear this and they say, all right, I'm ready to move the needle. I want to do something. What are some things that they can do to start helping them get to the point where they can be successful in doing it, in knowing, of course, that it's not going to be an easy thing, because if it was, like I said before, they would have done it already. So what are some things you want people to do to start getting themselves prepared for, the hard work that they have to face?
Yeah. First of all, I love how you say if it was easy, everyone would do it. Growing up, that was something my dad would say to me every time I'm having a bad day or I'm failing at something. And at the time, it would only make me mad. But now I love hearing that because it's true. The other side of the coin is that anyone can do it, even though it's hard. And that's exactly why I'm here, and I'm on this podcast to help people know that they can do it. And I'd say that's the first step, realizing that you can do it. And obviously there has to be an it to do. So you have to fix your mind on what you want to do, but you need to pull away the negative stereotypes you have around yourself. So often we fill our own minds with excuses or accusations even that we're not good enough and that we don't have the same stuff. At the same time that we fill our minds that other people around us are naturally born gifted. And both of those are lies, because it takes hard work on both accounts. And if we do hard work just like them, we can reach the same situation. I believe that every outcome, every accomplishment is kind of like a formula. And if you get the right ingredients in the formula, you get the right end result. And obviously you'll have to do some introspecting. But first thing, you need to know that it's possible. Second thing, you need to start looking for models of things that you want to do or become that have done it, to reinforce that idea that it's possible, but also start to break down that formula for yourself. And again, that's why the podcast is as it is, so that way we can pull people like you, Mike, who have done those hard things. And on the show, I've asked you and all of my guests, I'll pause and I'll say, hey, for this specific situation that you did, what are some things that you would recommend to someone who's trying to do something exactly like that? Because I want people to start looking at these models, start looking at our heroes, and then start breaking it down and saying, okay, what were the tests of Hercules, that if I did the same thing, I'd be like Hercules. And then after that, you continue on that same vein of thought. You break down what those heroes have done, and then you create your own hero's journey. You start trying to craft certain experiences that you think are going to create those characteristics in yourself that you see in your heroes. And so this is where you start, well, at this point, hopefully, and obviously this is a little bit general, but by this point, hopefully you've written down what you want to do. And then at this point, you have noted certain things that your heroes have done who have done similar to what you want to do. And then you can start emulating that. From there, you create your plan. And in this, you kind of use the scientific method. So you create hypotheses, meaning if I do this certain activity X amount of times, I will create this characteristic, this result in my life. And then you iterate. You check back and see if your hypothesis was right. If it wasn't, you change up the formula. And then you go from there and reiterate until you get your achievement or result.
And the great thing about that exercise too is once you have the confidence and you've seen mentors or other people that have done it before and they've given you the roadmap of how it worked for them, obviously your road might look a little bit different, but you've at least got some guidelines and some guideposts along the way. And also too, you have the right, as you're moving along, to pivot to go something a little bit different, because when you're doing this work, you realize, actually, I would really love to work on this. So you can have that choice. It's your life. You can do whatever you want. But ideally, the whole idea is to move for personal growth or shift your business if you're an entrepreneur. Even personally speaking, the things that I'm doing right now, are different than what I originally imagined them to be when I launched my organization several years ago, because of opportunities, of growth, of skilling up on certain things that I needed to, brush up on, which has created opportunities for me to do some things that I'm really enjoying to do.
Yeah.
And those opportunities wouldn't have come if I didn't push myself to say, okay, let's launch a business. You realize how much work it is to run a business. Yes, I knew what it was because I consulted people that did that. And okay, why do I want to do this? What's my why? Why is this important to me? Why do I want to walk away from a quote unquote safe role and go this journey? Because I strongly felt that I needed to. And checking with myself and making sure, yeah, I need to do this. And I think everyone should ask themselves that same question. It should be something that, one, they want to do. Of course, if you don't want to, then it's going to be an uphill battle, and you're going to throw in the towel long before you even start. But if you match that want with, you really see a need that you can address by doing this, whatever it is, it makes it easier, in my opinion. I'm not saying it doesn't diminish the challenging things, but those hurdles and roadblocks are a little bit easier to face because you know what the end goal is. You know, okay, this is the destination. This is a journey that I'm on, and it's going to have some twists and turns, but ultimately it's going to be so worth it at the end when you get there and you're doing the work and you're seeing how it impacts people. That's my hope for everybody, that they find that thing for them that just helps them really make an impact in their world and the world of people around them, because it's such an amazing feeling to be able to do it.
Yeah, and anyone can do it. And one thing I really like about what you're saying is that to continually come back to your why. I'm a huge fan of fiction. Actually, I think it's useful because in a way we can kind of create these mental models of characters or people and test them against ourselves in society and see if we like them, if we don't agree with them. I mean, there's a reason why villainous characters create certain feelings within us, hate, anger, where we just don't like them. And that's a really easy way to kind of paint for ourselves the future vision of ourself as a hero. And I think it's valuable to see ourselves in our own hero's journey and to continually think about the treasure at the end of the journey after we slay the beast, and to continually think about returning home and rescuing the damsel in distress. I mean, at least for us, for a woman, it'd probably be different, but because then every time, I'm thinking of Lord of the Rings, every time Frodo and Sam are having a difficult time, they think about the fate of their world as they knew it and the fact that they have to win because people are relying on them. And they think about that, and it gives them motivation and kind of pushes them forward, even though they're going through hell, really. It pushes them forward to do this unthinkable task that no one thinks they could do. And I think that if we do the same thing, if we think about what's driving us, all of the hard things that come at us, we're more willing to take them on. It kind of helps us set our expectations to where, what comes, I'm going to take it on, and I'm going to move forward willingly, because that's the only way you can actually reach the end, in my opinion.
Yeah, the fiction angle is great. I'm a big fan of biographies and autobiographies to see how world leaders navigated through insurmountable odds to win. And that was a hero's journey as well. You've seen many of those things are in movies, which are based on actual events, but it's still a film or a fiction story where you're like, okay, are they going to be able to blow up the Death Star? Are they going to be able to rescue this? Are you going to be able to undo what Thanos did? All of these things. Hopefully, I'm not spoiling anything. Right? It's like, by now, with all this time off everybody's had, you probably should have caught up on all the movies you've ever wanted to watch.
Exactly.
If not, you should pretty soon. But again, it's a great way to do it and to put yourself in the story of you, and it's your life, and you get to design. You're the script writer of your life, and don't delegate that. Write it out the way that you want it to be. And if you're in a scene right now that's not great, well, then you know that is in many stories. It's like, well, you're going to overcome that and write the fairy tale ending to your life. Don't not necessarily thinking about the end of the life, but end of this particular journey. Going, this is where I want to be at this point, celebrating this and enjoying this and doing that. So no, that's a great analogy.
Exactly. And if I can add something to that, I think it's also important with your hero's journey, with whatever hard thing you're facing. I think you need to understand, just to set your expectations, that hard things, in my opinion, come on a spectrum, and it's a spectrum of choice. Choice about whether or not we can finish the task or whether or not we can quit the task or situation. And on one end, we have almost no choice about what is foisted upon us by circumstances, universe, God, whatever you believe in. On the other hand, it's hard things that we assume of our own free will and choice, and we can stop it whenever we want, but we are also the person who is going to bring it to its end result. And on one end, with no choice, I consider that, health problems or the death of a loved one, those are things that you can't control. The only thing you can control is yourself, but you can't end the hard thing. You can't finish the hard thing. And with those, you kind of just need to endure it. And that's going to be a different hero's story than, on the other hand, where most of the listeners on this show are business owners. Owning a business is hard. And that's something that most of us, we choose to assume and we choose to undertake. And we can also choose to stop doing that, or we can choose to continue until we reach our end result. And those require very different characteristics and different attributes, and they make a lot of different stories, different heroes' journeys. So with writing your hero's journey and trying to move the needle, be very aware of where you are on the spectrum, so that way in trying to move the needle, maybe you have cancer. I've talked to a couple cancer survivors, and I mean, they have very interesting stories, because honestly, for them, a good day is sometimes just waking up and not crying for the first half of the day. And that's moving the needle, because if you can keep your emotional well-being during times like that, that's moving the needle. But on a business side, if you wake up and you're just happy you weren't crying that day, you're not going to be in business long. You gotta move the needle in different ways. So that's just one thing I would add to that.
That's a great analogy with the cancer story too, because I've known a lot of people that have beat cancer on a couple occasions, or just a lot of people, because it's one of those things that a lot of people face, and there's a common thread with them. Is like, just, I'm going to maintain an upbeat attitude on this. Yes, there's hard days, but I know that's part of the journey. I'm going to beat this. I'm going to do everything I need to do to get past it. And that mentality and keeping your mind on that, I'm going to beat this and get through this, will help you beat this and get through this. It sounds so simple, but I know it's very hard for so many people to get through all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, Justin, I've loved our conversation today. Where can people find out more about you and this awesome work you do?
Excellent. Actually, the first place is Facebook or Instagram, probably Instagram, at The Hard Thing Podcast. And then I have a website. I'm still working on it right now, so I don't know if I'd go there, but if you want, it's just thehardthingpodcast.com. And then obviously check out me on The Hard Thing Podcast, wherever you hear wonderful podcasts like this one. And then the last of all, I actually just came out with a email course, 50 ways to regain back your hope. I found that so often in life we have these not major depressions, but these kind of lulls where we're just in a rut or something like that, and we just need something to get out of that rut. So here are 50 ways that you can try to raise yourself out of those minor ruts. And the fun thing about it is doing these tips in perpetuity actually improve your life altogether. So I would just recommend these to anyone. But if you're looking for ways to regain your hope or keep your hope alive, especially during COVID-19, you can go and sign up for this email course. It's free. It's just your email and your first name. And I'll give the link to Mike. It's kind of long, so I won't say it online. But yeah, there's that.
Awesome. I'll definitely have all that information in the show notes. So, Justin, thank you again. Great to connect with you again on my show. And thank you for allowing me to be on your show as well, and continued success.
Thank you so much, Mike. I've enjoyed this conversation, and I certainly hope your audience enjoyed it too.
I'm sure they will.